Hi again, class. This is the lesson for Chapter 9 for you on working with patterns, and they're going to show us those patterns in table form. Now, tables are one way that we can represent a number pattern. We're still probably going to have to figure out what the rule is, but at least it's the way of presenting the information to us. What you have to remember here, though, is that in sequences, there is a relationship, in this type of sequence anyway, there is a relationship between the term number, such as 1, and then the term itself, which is 6. In other words, the first question I have to ask myself, as I've stated down here, is what do I do to the 1 to get 6? Well, let's think about that. I could add 5. Is that going to work for my term number of 2? Is 2 plus 5 going to give me 12? No, 2 plus 5 gives me 7. So I have to find an alternate way to relate the term number of 1 to my term of 6. Well, another way of doing that is to multiply by 6. Now, check it out. If I take 2 times 6, do I get 12? Yes. Check it out for 3. Does 3 times 6 give me 18? Yes. So my rule must be that I am going to multiply by 6. I'm going to take the term number times 6. Now I need to have the values for the term for the 6th, 7th, and 8th term. Okay, so 6 times 6 is going to give me 36. Term number of 7 times that rule of multiply by 6 is going to give me 42. The term number of 8 times the rule of 6, or going through the rule to multiply by 6, is going to give me 48, and I now have my next 3 terms. Let's try one in which we are going to actually have to find our rule. It's not going to be quite as easy as in part A. My term number here is 1. My term itself is 3. Then I have 2, 5, 3 and 7, 4 and 9, and I have to find terms 5, 6, and 7. Again, you also have to ask yourself, how can I get from 1 to 3? Well, the easiest way is to add 2. Will that work for the term number of 2, though? 2 plus 2 is, oh shoot, it's 4. I'm not getting the 5 I'm supposed to get. Back to term number 1. I could take 1 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Will that work for 2? 2 times 3? Nope, because I'm supposed to have a 5. Well, then I have to start trying a few things. What if I take 2 times 1 and add something to get 3? Is that possible? Well, 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1. So let's see if that works for my second term. If I take 2 times the term of 2 and then add 1, am I going to get my 5? Yes. So that is my rule. My rule says to multiply the term number by 2 and add 1. Now you'll notice I try to put in some abbreviations to make this a little shorter, okay? Now, I have to figure out my 5th, 6th, and 7th terms. So I have to take 2 times 5 and add 1. 2 times 5 is 10, add 1 is 11. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. So my terms are now listed as 11, 13, and 15. And then this is where we can start writing a rule using a variable as 2n plus 1, where n is the term number. And sometimes that's what we can actually write as our rule, rather than writing it out by words. Let's look at a second example. Here I have term number 1 is 1, term number 2 is 4, term number 3 is 9, term number 4 is 16. Now remember, I want the relationship between 1 and 1, between 2 and 4. Add 0 is not going to help me. Multiplying by 1 isn't going to work for the 2. What do I do to the 2 to get 4? I times by 2. What do I do to the 3 to get the 9? I times by 3. What do I do to the 4 to get 16? I times by 4. Now this is a tough one. This function uses the concept of squaring. So my rule is to square term number. Now remember how I told you that the term number is n? I could actually write this rule as n squared. That's one way to write the rule. Now 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, 7 squared is 49. Now I showed you example 2 because this one actually comes up quite often. And students miss it a lot, so I try to use it in the examples, and then if you look back in your notes, you should be able to find it. Okay, now here's the other problem. Sometimes they don't give me a table, they just give me a sequence, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. My best advice to you is to write the term number above it. Just go ahead and write it in. Now, what's that relationship between the 1 and the 3? Add 2 times by 3. Which one will work for the 2? 2 plus 2 is 4, so adding's not going to work, but 2 times 3 gives me 6. So my rule here is to multiply by 3. Sometimes called, if you're going to write it in what we call the language of these, it would be 3n. For now, they want it in words, but I'm kind of showing you the other way because eventually they're going to get you to the other one. So what are my next 3 terms? Well, 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 7 is 21, and 3 times 8 is 24. Sometimes they will give you the term number as a unit, such as a pound, a gallon, some money, or whatever. In this situation, I have a table, and they tell us that a gallon of gas gives us 18.1 miles. If I have 2 gallons of gas, I can go 36.2. If I have 3 gallons, I can go 54.3. How do I get from the 1 to the 18.1 that will also work to go from 2 to the 36.2? Well, adding's not going to help very much, but multiplying will. So my rule here is going to be to multiply by 18.1. Now notice, they are not asking me for the rule. They are asking me only for the values that they haven't given me. Well, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 8 is 32, carry the 3. Whoops, carry the 3. 4 times 1, so I get 72.4. 5 times 18.1 is going to be 90.5. Now see how they're moving you so that you can start doing these mental math. Now, let's see if you can get example B. Hit pause and you do it. Okay, this one's not too bad. Bet you got it, right? You're multiplying by 4. So your values are going to be 20 and 36. Let's see if you can get C. So hit pause and do example C. Okay, this one's a little trickier because this time they start out by giving you 2 to 14, but then they're going to throw you backwards and say, all right, if I get 35 in the right-hand column, what has to be in the left-hand column? Hopefully you figured it out that it was 5, because we're going to be taking 2 times 7. Some of you probably said, well, what number times 7 gives me 35? that works, but it's actually dividing. If you'll notice, you can also divide by 7, and that will give you, that's a bad way to write it. Better not do that. You can divide by 7, and then that will give you the 5. Going from the 12 to the y, we're going to take 12 times 7, we're going to get 84. And you'll notice that usually when you move to the right, you're going to do the opposite if you're going to try to find a missing term number or a missing amount from the first column. And that concludes lesson 9.3 on using patterns and tables. Catch you next time.